IO is on fire.
Hey, what's up you guys? So I've been wanting to make this video for a while. The main goal of this video is to not only inform you guys and tell you guys my story of what happened 3 years ago, but also just to let you know, some of the early warning signs or some of the symptoms or things that you should be looking out for. Maybe things that have already happened in your life and you just haven't really realized what they meant. So basically this video is the story of how I lost my gallbladder 3 years ago and how I had surgery and kind of everything that led up to that, everything that was going on during, and everything that happened afterwards. It all started kind of like January-ish of 2015. There was a time where like I woke up in the middle of the night after I had pizza at like midnight. I woke up at like 5 or 6 in the morning and my stomach hurt a lot. I thought initially I had to like go to the bathroom, but I didn't, and my stomach hurt a lot and I was just kind of like sitting there. I didn't know what to do, and then I like felt something in my mouth and bam, vomit. And then about a month later it happened again at my friend's house, and then a month after that, so now we're in March of 2015, St. Patrick's Day, same thing happened. And usually it would only happen if I ate something bad the night before. The first time it was pizza when I was watching a movie. The second time I think it was like maybe McDonald's or something, and I'd also like drank a lot of energy drinks. But the third time it was nothing, and that's when I knew something might kind of actually be wrong. But I went to the hospital. They said it was just acid reflux. They gave me some medicine. I was like, okay. Took the medicine, and it still happened again about a month later. And at first, I thought, okay, it might just be my stomach. I might just have a weak stomach. But then the time that really like set it off, or the time that actually sent me to the hospital, was in July of 2015. I think it was July 13th. It was the day of the home run derby here in Cincinnati, the one Todd Frazier won. And I was watching it at home with my dad. We were eating Papa John's, and then so I woke up early in the morning and I was like, Dad, I don't feel good. Like, I don't know what's going on. I think it's the pizza I had last night. And he was like, are you sure you don't feel good? He asked me if I wanted him to stay. And I said, no, it's fine, because I was actually going to be home alone. My sister had just moved out, and then my mom was with my sister helping her move. Like she had like literally just moved. So both of them were in Texas, and then my dad was about to be in Columbus. So I took him to the hotel where he met his coworker, and then they drove up to Columbus. And then I just went back home and was like, you know what, hopefully it'll get better. And it never got better. As soon as I dropped my dad off, I immediately started puking. And then it just kept going all day, all night. And so I wasn't able to eat anything from the time I ate the night of the 13th until literally like 5 or 6 days later, because I tried to eat the night of the 14th, like the night of the actual All-Star game, when I was by myself, and I just couldn't. Like, I would eat a piece of bread and I would just vomit. Anything I did, like I would get up out of bed, I would vomit, I would drink, or I'd eat anything, I would try to, and I would just vomit. So I told my mom, and she was in Texas, and I told her, like, if it keeps going on, I gotta go to the hospital. So I finally was able to sleep at around like maybe like 4 p.m. And this is on the 14th, and I woke up and it was the bottom of the 8th inning of the All-Star game, and I was so upset just because I missed the whole thing. But I thought, you know what, I just slept for 5 hours, maybe like my condition's a little bit better, maybe I can eat stuff. Tried to eat, vomited again. So I told my mom, she told me to take this medicine that she had, and I found it, I took it, still vomited. And at that point it was really late in the night, because I kind of held off texting and calling her for a while, because like I don't like when my parents worry about me, especially if they're like far away or in like a different state or whatever. So I was like, hey mom, I don't think this is getting better, because at that point it'd been 24 hours. Well, it'd been over 24 hours since I'd ate. I was able to like drink water and stuff, but I would still vomit. So I just kind of had to deal with that. But it'd been over 24 hours since I ate, and it was just like, it was hell at this point. I was sweating, I was puking. There was points where I would like vomit, and I'd be in so much pain, and I would just like cry. Like I was literally crying and vomiting for like hours. So after a full day of that, I told my mom I gotta go to the hospital. So I drove myself to the hospital at 5 in the morning, never driven on the highway before in my life. and I got in my car, drove to the hospital, and I like walked in the emergency room, and they were like, "Oh, how old are you?" I said I was 17, and they said, "Where are your parents?" I said my dad's in Columbus, my mom's in San Antonio, and they were like, "Oh shoot, okay." So I immediately go in the emergency room. They asked me like what happened or what's going on. I told them, you know, I was here 3 months ago. You guys said it was acid reflux, but I think it's like something more. So they gave me an ultrasound, which honestly, like, probably the worst part of it. And so I'm sitting there on the table, and he's putting like the gel on my stomach and just pressing it. And he's like, all right, just, you know, try and focus on the movie. And he's showing me Maleficent. And I was just, remember, like, just trying to focus on the movie, being in so much pain. And so after we're done, I kind of like saw the look on his face, and he was just kind of like, and I was like, is everything all right? And he was like, oh, I'll be right back. So he went in a different room. A lady came out, wheeled me into the room I was initially in, and was like, hey, so basically, like, this is really bad. You have a lot of gallstones, and we need to rush you to the main hospital downtown so that we can take your gallbladder out. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess they knew I had gallstones, but they didn't, and they knew it was bad, but they didn't know like how bad it was exactly. But I got there, and my dad, like I said, he was in Columbus, and his meeting was over that day, so he immediately just, you know, rushed straight to the hospital, and Columbus to Cincinnati is like an hour and a half. It's not that bad. Doctor came in and basically explained it further. And so the thing that happened was my gallbladder, I'd been having gallstones for a while, and that's what all the pain was, and that's the reason why I was like having those times where I was vomiting late at night. And they should have taken it out 3 months before then in March. That way it wouldn't have been as painful. It would have been like a lot easier procedure. But what had happened now is my gallbladder had gotten so big, and it was so like fragile and dangerous that I had to wait. I think that was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I think it was a Tuesday night that I'd gone to the hospital, or early Wednesday morning, and I couldn't even have the surgery until Friday like afternoon, because they said that it would explode if they tried to take it out now. And the way that it works is I got laparoscopic surgery, so they essentially cut some slits in like the top of your stomach above your belly button, and they use these metal chopsticks to pull it out through your belly button, and your belly button kind of gets split open, and my belly button had to be like that, kind of like that wide, which isn't like terrible, but initially they would have had to do it like this, because they said the size of my gallbladder, normally it's like around the size of like a plum, and mine had grown to be bigger than a softball, and they said it was one of the worst they'd ever seen in their life. And they actually, after the whole surgery, they said they like kept parts of it to like research it because it was so bad. And my surgeon said it was the worst he'd ever seen. So, especially at my age, I was 17 at the time, and a lot of people don't end up losing their gallbladder. If they lose their gallbladder at all, a lot of people don't end up losing it at, you know, even anywhere even close to their teenage years. A lot of times it's like when they're older or later in life. But yeah, so I thought I was gonna have surgery like initially. As soon as I got there, they said it was so bad that we had to wait. So I waited the next day and the next day and the next day. No eating, no drinking. Literally, I'm just being fed through an IV. And I just remember being in like so much pain and so hungry. Literally the most hungry I've ever been in my life. Just like, it's unexplainable. Not eating after like 4 or 5 days, and actually by the time I did get to eat eventually, like after my surgery, it'd been almost a week, and I just remember like straight up almost crying. The first thing I ate was a graham cracker, and I just remember like wanting to cry because I was so happy that I could finally eat. Like I was just so happy that I could eat food again, and that's like a feeling that like, oh my god, I can't even imagine feeling like that all the time. But so that's pretty much what happened. And then so Friday we had the surgery, and I'd never had surgery in my life. I hadn't been to hospital since I was born. Like I was pretty nervous, but at the same time, like I knew that I would probably die if I didn't have this surgery, just because eventually it'd get so big and it'd explode and kill me. So I was like, you know what, it's got to get done. So on Fridays when we had the surgery, and it was I think a pretty like I think it's kind of one of those things like getting your tonsils removed to the dentist. It's like one of those things that they have to do, not like super frequently, but it's just like a pretty basic procedure. But like I said, mine was a hard one because it was so big, and like I was also really overweight. So that's always, I'm sure that always makes things like harder. But so they did that. So Friday, like I said, Friday afternoon, they wheel me into the operating room, and I just remember them putting this mask on my face and saying like, oh, you know, this is just air. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then they asked me like, how's your summer going? And I was like, oh, it's you know, it's pretty good. It could be better, I guess. And then I'm like, so when are you guys gonna do it? Like, did you guys do it yet? And they're like, yeah. And like, literally, as soon as she asked me the question, I passed out. And then a few hours later, I woke up and I was just like, oh, are you guys gonna do it yet? And they were like, we just did it. And my dad was like, just standing there next to me, super happy. And I was like, holy crap, like you don't even feel it. I just had a friend that got his wisdom teeth removed, and I was trying to tell him like, you literally, it's like time skips, like you lose time. It's not, you don't even realize it. You don't feel yourself like getting tired, and then like, you know, like it's not like sleeping, it's like you're dead. Like it's weird. But yeah, so that happened. So then I woke up, was in a lot of pain, and I lost probably like 10 pounds from the time that I like initially went to the hospital to when I was able to eat again. So about a week. So I lost like 10 pounds in the first week just by not eating or drinking anything for like 6 days. And then when I got home, I lost another 25 pounds because they had to put me on like a low-fat diet. So for the next 2 months, so 2 months after I had surgery, I could not eat anything that had any sort of grease in it whatsoever. No fast food. Even if it was like grilled and it had too much grease, I wouldn't eat it. They said only drink like clear liquids or like juice or whatever. So did that. Pretty much ate like as healthy as you can eat for like 2 months. I lost like 35 pounds in total, and it was great because it was right before senior year. So super happy that all that happened, and it kind of changed my whole perspective on like, you know, eating right, eating in general, losing weight, and then also just like how lucky I am that I can, you know, something like this happens to me, I can go to the hospital, get the procedure done, and live to see another day. Because there's tons of people that, you know, don't have the money for surgery, or they don't have the money to go to the hospital, or I mean an ambulance too. Like ambulances are really expensive. If you've ever been in an ambulance, you got the bill afterwards, you know how expensive they are. So hopefully this video you know, is helpful to you, whether you just want to know my story, or whether you want to, you know, possibly see if like you have something wrong with your body, or see if something's going on that maybe you didn't know before this video. So anyways guys, thanks for taking the time out of your day to hear me talk about this, and I want to start making more videos like this in the future, do some more story time videos because I sure do have a lot. And anyways, like I said, thanks for watching, see you next time.